welcome back with the king of Mondays, Brother Neil Frazier, the undisputed king of Mondays. Mondays are not Mondays unless we have Brother Neil Frazier on. It doesn't feel the same. So if you postpone it, a show, we can't even call it Monday, right? You own this day, right? Anyway,
yes, sir.
Back with another wonderful show. Frederick McKinley Jones, the forgotten genius behind modern refrigeration technology. Brother, you have a way of finding our ancestors who have contributed greatly to the life, not only of Black people, but to humanity. And they bury these things lots of times because they don't want to give credit where credit is due, or to teach the same old narrow things in school, the Eurocentric schools. And so we have to say to ourselves, where was all of this stuff all of these years that we didn't even know this? You know?
Exactly. Yeah. It's almost as if, and you know, it's funny that you would say that. But first of all, I want to greet you again, brother, and the family, everybody under the sound of my voice. It's always good to be with you guys. This is my hangout spot on Mondays. You can see, I was telling you, I'm here at the center where I work, and I decided to do it from here now. For whatever reason, you know, at the house, I just get here earlier than I normally come after the show. But yeah, man, you are correct. And, you know, I, this week, well, man, Friday, I got home, I watched a little bit of, you know, the History Channel, you know, the men who built America. And it was funny to me because they talk about all of these people who actually are capitalists, right? And the money that they have was gained off the backs of our ancestors. We know this, but there is no mention of our great ancestors like who we're celebrating today. Right. And so I was like, interesting. So these big, huge main media conglomerates, they are just as complicit with hiding the great history of Black America from the world. And as we're going to see today, when we deep dive into this brother, you know, I was teasing saying that he literally transformed America out of the Ice Age. And after, literally. Yeah. The other thing, too, is when you look at the type of, let alone what he did to transform America in the world and bring us out of the Ice Age, but also the type of annual revenue that's being generated by the inventions of our great ancestors, it's astonishing. Right. They're actually predicting, so right now, globally, it's 157, and we have a visual to talk about this, 157.8 billion with a B a year. And by 2030, they're projecting it to be 300,000 billion dollars. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do the math and see. And we're not going back to when they started making money off of this. Right. Let's just take the last 10 years. You're talking over $1 trillion. So when we start to look at this, because we tend to look, because they hide things from us so much, we don't get the full spectrum.
Right.
And then they have the nerve to always say, it's almost like that the average white person have been snowballed as well. Even though some of them have heard about, maybe they're trying to hide this from the subsequent generations. And this is how they keep this superiority complex. Because as I was watching the History Channel and the men who built America, and a lot of it centered around New York, you know, with J.P. Morgan and what's his name? The other guy, I can't even think his name right now, starts with a C. But they all primarily built their wealth off of what our ancestors established. So we're going to give our brother his due diligence today. And we're going to put him, as always, in the spotlight. And we'll let you start out with that terrific banner you have, brother. And then
Okay,
we'll deep dive into
the man, the brother. He's so, I mean, what he did was so great. It wasn't hard to put together. And just to focus on his life and pretty much telling a story without having to crowd the banner up with so many words. When you do a story show on someone, especially one that may not be or may not have gotten around as much, you know, show some things. You want to put some words bigger, you want to put his name bigger, you want to put the other things a little smaller. So you see him on the left-hand side, you see his face. And you see him again on the right-hand side, and he's tending to something in a very focused manner, which that's the kind of man he was and his energy is. So we say, you know, the forgotten genius behind modern refrigeration technology. And so we kind of tell it in the title, but by saying forgotten genius, he's been forgotten for the most part. So that's intriguing to see.
Oh, yeah, no question.
In particular. Then you see a truck, and then you see refrigerated transportation revolutionized. You know, so that tells it right there that he has revolutionized this. And under the bottom, we have a visionary, inventor, trailblazer, change the world. Yes. And we have the plans
absolutely
on the left-hand side of something he's created. And just the circuitry in the background behind him on the left-hand side to show that this is mostly a cerebral thing. I mean, all of our contributions in history are appreciated. So when you see a Jack Johnson that, you know, he was a fighter and he broke down certain barriers and defiant against the oppression. Well, this is more cerebral. So we often get, you know, appreciation in athleticism, but they want to push us that way more so they'll focus on that more, whether it's the baseball, the football, the basketball, all of this stuff, rap, everything, but it's never really pushed where we celebrate those who are scholarly, cerebral, visionaries, and did something that we use every single day. This is nothing where it's the past, it's the present and the future. And he's the one who facilitated this. So why aren't we hearing in the schools, or why aren't our children hearing about this in the schools? So that's why I applaud you so much, brother, because you have a way of finding them and bringing it to the forefront. And I'm looking forward to the words that you say as the King of Mondays.
Well, yeah, brother, you know, that that's a great description. And I say to everyone that they should read the description that you so eloquently wrote out for this brother. I agree, very deserving. You know, we often say that America would be a fifth world country, not a third world country, without our great brothers like Frederick Mckinley Jones, who he did have a very rough childhood. And like many of us, and like many Black men, and I always go back and I think about the era that they did this in. And so when we look at not only that he had to face this type of scrutiny, but he was always, you know, kind of like, well, a brother like him could not be put, you know, on the other side of the track, so to speak. They had to acknowledge him, just like Lewis Latimer, where Edison gets all the credit, when it was actually Lewis Latimer that came up with the filaments that allowed it to burn, you know, where people could have light all day and all night. Right. So, yeah, brother, I want to start out with, I wrote an introduction, and you can leave your banner there. I just want to, before we go through the visions real quick.
Yeah, let me know when you're ready to take it down. We're here.
Okay. But today we celebrate a man who invented one of the greatest inventions in the 20th century, known as the father of refrigerated trucks, Frederick McKinley Jones brought the world and America out of the dark ages with his revolutionary invention. Prior to this invention, America and the rest of the world still relied on ice age methods, literally, to keep food, medicine, blood, and other essentials frozen while being transported over long distances. Consistent with the hidden history of America's brilliant Black inventors, he has lost to history. While someone like Christopher Columbus, who discovered absolutely nothing, Turtle Island was already here and it was inhabited. He is celebrated in American folklore, Christopher Columbus, as opposed to Frederick McKinley Jones. A giant of the technology of refrigeration, Jones was at the forefront of American innovation. Like so many Black inventors before and after him, his impact catapulted America ahead of the rest of the world and propelled America's modern technological advances to the head of the pack. Recognized by President George H.W. Bush as one of the great innovators of American excellence, he received the highest award given to American inventors, and innovators, and is inducted into the American Inventors Hall of Fame. So, yeah, brother, I want to start out with one of the visuals with him standing by the frozen truck. I mean, by the refrigerated truck, and whichever one you put up there. Yeah. So here we see. You know what? Can you put the other one up, Lance? I know they're kind of small to you, because both of them are. It's the other one. Yes, that's it. Thank you. So here we see that. Now let's think about something for a minute, and I want to make this very clear. Again, we have to deep dive into why would you hide such a great American inventor from the world? Well, we know the answer to this. Okay, but for someone who literally changed the way that the world was, when you think about the fact, let's just use, now he was in the military and his invention actually helped World War II. Think about if they were not able to be able to freeze the food, it would have spoiled. The troops would have suffered a great catastrophic event without not having properly fresh food or eating rotten food. Then life-saving blood plasma was also able to be frozen, as well as the medicine that they needed for the soldiers on the battlefield and for medicine used not just in America, but throughout the world. And that alone, when you think about that, that is a transformative invention. And so let's deep dive into this a little bit. Frederick McKinley Jones was one of the most important inventors of the 20th century. He developed practical mobile refrigeration systems for trucks, rail cars, and other forms of transportation. This invention transformed and revolutionized how food, medicine, and other perishable goods could be moved over long distances. Now let's talk about why the refrigerated truck was so important. As we mentioned before Jones' invention, food shipments often relied on ice. And we know what that's about, okay? Because ice melts.
Exactly.
In fact, If you have ice in a truck and there is no refrigeration, it may melt within an hour or less.
Exactly.
Because temperatures were difficult to control and large amounts of food spoiled before reaching consumers. Jones created an automatic mechanical refrigeration system that kept cargo cold throughout the journey. So when you go to the grocery store today, and see, these are teachable moments for Black people. You have your children with you, your grandchildren. When you go to a store and you go to a frozen section, you need to tell them, not just a frozen section, anywhere where there are perishable goods, and explain to them, listen, a Black man invented the technology for people to be able to have fresh groceries. And without that, you would be eating rotten food. And this is an absolute 100% fact. Jones created an automatic mechanical refrigeration system, as you can see from this particular visual. And this system that kept cargo cold throughout the journey. So, in other words, you could bring food from various aspects of the country, like we see today, and they can travel across the country or wherever, because now you have this refrigerated technology, okay, that kept the food fresh. Also, his invention had several major impacts. First, it reduced food spoilage, as we just talked about. Meat, dairy products, fruits, and vegetables could travel much further without going bad. It also expanded food access. People could buy fresh produce year-round, even when it was out of season locally. Now think about that. Your favorite foods, had it not been for this great inventor, your favorite fruits would be inaccessible to you during the times of years. The only time it would probably be accessible is when it's in season. And you actually have somebody go out there, pick it, and bring it back within an hour or two. But you still had the situation where the food had to be frozen.
Right.
Also, it supported modern supermarkets, large-scale distribution of fresh. How you doing, Ms. Kath? Large-scale distribution of fresh and frozen foods became practical, helping create the modern grocery system. As I mentioned, help during World War II, refrigerated units preserved blood plasma, medicines, and food supplies for troops and field hospitals. I forgot about that. Now, imagine this. You could say that he's partly responsible for arguably the greatest victory in world history as far as a war. Because had you not been able to freeze blood plasma for soldiers who had lost a lot of blood during battle, also the medicine that saved their lives, medicines, and the food supplies, because let's face it, troops have to eat. Okay.
Exactly.
And also field hospitals. So imagine soldiers going to hospitals and then not having the medicine that they need. It would have been catastrophic. We would have suffered not just a catastrophic loss of soldiers, but also it's possible that we would have lost the war. And that's why it's so crazy to have this emergence of Nazism, which everyone fought against, okay, to eradicate from the world. A couple more things before we look at a few more of his visuals. The historical significance of this. James received more than 60 patents. Okay, 40 of them related to refrigeration technology. He co-founded Thermo King. We can see here a few of the companies that and subsidiaries that benefited from this. And as we always say, these inventions have been making billions and trillions of dollars for a very long time, not just for American companies, but also for major corporations and international corporations around the world. So when people say, well, you know, I didn't have a slave, or what is reparations for? And they get the wrong idea that reparations is them giving us something. You need to teach our kids and teach other people. No, they have literally become trillionaires off of the inventions of over 200 Black inventors in this country. And I'm speaking worldwide. Also, Thermo King was a company whose refrigeration systems became widely used around the world. Again, he's known as the father of refrigerated transportation. Many historians describe Jones as the father of refrigerated transportation. Because his innovations helped create the modern cold chain system, as we said earlier, that allows food, medicines, vaccines, I forgot about that, and other temperature sensitive products to move safely across nations and continents. Think about the implications of this man's invention. and again, a lot of times we downplay it because the normative culture hides it. Exactly. But this man is a huge giant, one of the most important inventors, not just the 20th century, but ever. And finally, he revolutionized the world. If you can buy fresh strawberries in the winter, receive refrigerated medicine safely, or find foods from distant regions in a local supermarket, it is very possible. It is only possible because Frederick McKinley Jones' refrigeration technology changed the world and allowed this to happen. Okay, brother, you can remove that one. Okay. I want to go into a couple of things. We don't have to show any more actual pictures of him, but I do want to cover a couple of things that was very important. Right. And again, everyone should read your description of him, which is, as always, brother, you do a brilliant job with that. But thank you, man. The refrigeration technology was only one of his inventions. In fact, he was responsible for several other major inventions. Mm-hmm. So let's cover them real quickly. The key accomplishments and legacy. Well, of course, we know about mobile refrigeration, but what a lot of people don't know is he was responsible for cinematic sound innovation. So when you go to the theater, when you're with your children, this is a teachable moment for Black kids. We cannot rely on these people to teach our history. That is something that we must do. Okay. But while working as a mechanic, hold on. This is trying to block. Okay. While working as a mechanic and projectionist in Halleck, Minnesota, Jones converted silent movie projectors into talking projectors using scrap metal. Now think about we were talking about before we went live, the mind of this brilliant brother. Using scrap metal and contributing heavily to the rise of the cinematic experience. Now, think about this.
That's crazy. I mean, as if what he did with refrigeration wasn't enough. He's in a whole different lane. It wasn't just refrigeration.
No, it was not.
Who does that? I mean, we do.
Exactly.
I'm just saying that to be funny. But somebody like that, if it was somebody else, one of them small
God. Again, they would be on Mount Rushmore. That is a fact. Because we're talking about the type of innovation that moved us out of the fifth world experience, not third world, way beyond that. Okay. Into this modern age where you can have fresh food, any type of food you want. How many people know that a Black man is responsible for this? More importantly, our children don't know. And again, as we always say, they want to hide this from white children, not just white children only, but people that come to this country. One of the reasons why they say that Black people, when they look at the History Channel and see people like Davy Crockett, John Fremont, when they, the War for California, when they took it from Mexico, and they see all of these people, Lewis and Clark, which was, we're not trying to take anything away from their expedition, but what we're saying is tell the whole story. That is just one side of the American experience. But we're going to tell it. We're going to tell the real story. Okay. And like you were saying, brother, think about this. You would have been sitting up in a theater with no sound.
But think about flights, long flights. Think about cruises. That wouldn't be an industry unless you
it wouldn't.
It wouldn't be.
That's right. That's right. When you look at and we'll cover some of that with the visual. Yes, that is such an important point, Lance, that you're making. Because when you look at the whole scope of this invention, brother, we're talking about when people first had clubs and trying to start fires and doing all kind of stuff in the Ice Age, we're talking about a transformative type of invention that literally revolutionized the world. How many of our young men would inspired by Frederick McKinley Jones? Instead of wanting to be a gangster and a thug, what if they knew about Frederick McKinley Jones? That would have a major impact. It would change the dynamics of the projects or wherever we are. Huh?
The bar would.
What you say, Lance?
The bar. You can hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you now.
The bar would be raised.
Yes, it would. The bar would be raised. And you know, that too is one of the reasons why they hide our real history. Because like someone said before, they had to create this image of subhuman people because you can't justify people that built pyramids as slaves. Okay, you just can't do that. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to create, this is why they, again, use these terms like low IQ, because they have to present you as being less than in order to promote all of the wicked garbage that they do. It would literally be impossible to enslave a person, justify that slavery before the world, if this type of information was out. A couple of other accolades, historical accolades. In 1944, Jones became the first Black person elected to the American Society of Refrigeration Engineers in 1991. And he became the first African American to be posthumously awarded the National Medal of Technology, as I said, by then President George H.W. Bush. And see, this is very, very significant, brother. We're talking about a man that did not get any academic. This is why we always say you don't know who you are. You have these gifts. Okay, as a son person, you have these gifts. Rather than arguing with these people about insignificant things, you are the one that transformed not just America, but the world. Okay, brother, there's another visual. Oh, no. Yeah, I want to talk about this before we go to that. Some of the other inventions was a portable X-ray machine for doctors making house calls. Now, I want to say something.
Funny, but this guy's great.
Yeah, he is great, brother. He would be on Mount Rushmore if he was not a child of the sun. Okay, we know this. Now, this is what they do. And they do this to throw, spit in your face, because they know Black people are not taught about our real history. So you remember the movie that Will Smith was in when he was homeless and he started going around with these X-rays selling to doctors and hospitals and stuff like that?
Yeah.
This is what this was based on. But how many Black people knew this? But see, they do that. Hey, brother, how you doing today? All right, right on. Yeah, I'll be in there shortly. It's like 10 minutes to 1. Oh, okay. Yeah, good to see you, sir. So think about that. Now, I forgot the name of this movie, but he had his little son with him. He was homeless. And, he had to make it happen. But how many people know that he was portraying? I'm sure Will Smith knew this. But when you have these demonic people actually laughing in your face because they know you don't know about Frederick McKinley Jones and showing the world. So before then, people couldn't make house calls. The doctors couldn't, because they had no way. Well, they could make house calls, but again, it was primitive. It was Fifth World Order. All right, my brother. Fifth World Order. Okay. Or existence. Because a doctor couldn't go to the home and do a proper X-ray and solve the problem. At best, they could just, look at the symptoms and say, okay, it looks like a fever. We give you this. When a person could be having a stroke. So this also revolutionized the medical industry. And think of the billions of dollars that are made annually from that invention alone. So we're talking about one brother that produced over the century of this invention trillions of dollars. That is just one Black man. And see, we don't think about stuff like this when we're talking to these crazy people about things like reparations. Okay. Also, the automatic ticket dispensing machines and box office equipment for movie theaters. So He created, whenever you go to the movies and you buy a ticket, again, these are teachable moments for Black children. You ain't got to worry about, forget about the Department of Education. Okay, like Malcolm said, only a fool would allow his enemies, and you see what they have done with our history to teach our own children.
That's right.
Every time you take one of your children or grandchildren, nieces, nephew, I don't care who they are, and you buy a ticket to go and see a movie, you need to let them know that that technology that they're using came from this brother right here. Not only did he create a device for you to hear the movie, because before then, you know, you had the, you see the old black and white movies just rolling, rolling, rolling with no sound.
Right.
The other thing he created was a self-starting gas engine, which he later integrated into his refrigeration units. So here we see, this is where they get the technology for this, brother. I don't care who they give the credit to or tell you. This was a brilliant brother. He had over 40 patents, well, 60 in all, but 40 that dealt with refrigeration technology. But this self-starting gas engine showed them that, like, just like when you go to the gas pump today, you've got to understand who you are and who our ancestors are, and stop letting people tell you stuff about who we are. Okay? Now, the last visual I want to talk about, brother, is the money that they make off of our ancestors' great inventions. If you, it's a I'm pretty sure. Yeah, let me blow this up a little bit so I can see it. Not that one, the one that shows the billions of dollars that they make off of yes, thank you.
There you go.
Now let's look at this, right? And now let me hold on, brother. Let me okay. So now let's talk about something that we often don't discuss. And again, you know, when you look at the status of the Black community today, brother, we've been robbed. Okay, we've been thoroughly robbed. Our children have been robbed, and for these people to sit around and act like they're so superior, you know, and deny Black people their right, brother, you gonna have to answer to this. Not the Neil Frazier, okay, a Lance Scurv, you know, but there's a higher power, and that's where this comes from, which you have stolen. Okay, now let's talk about the worldwide annual revenue for the refrigerated transport market, which includes temperature controlled trucks, trailers, and logistic services. And like I always like to point out, there are thousands of subsidiaries that, and none of them are Black. If they are still getting crumbs from a larger subsidiary that eat off of the inventions of our ancestors, and we don't. But this industry is valued currently at approximately $157.8 billion annually. Now think about that, because in 10 years, that's $1 trillion. How they have projected that this industry created by Frederick Mckinley Jones is going to grow and balloon. Zach is called. Balloon over $307 billion. Now think about that. So that means in less than 4 years, when the 1930 hits, you're talking about $1 trillion right there.
Yep.
$300 billion, $307 billion a year. So you see what we're getting at here? But because they have us locked in on all this foolishness, we can't see straight. Okay. Here's the other thing. The total, I just read that, the total refrigerated transport services. Hope you had a great weekend. Call me back today. Okay. Think about this. The refrigerated trucks and vehicles and the hardware market, because you have to assimilate and build these trucks. Okay. And they eat off of that. That alone is 10.9 billion to 122 plus billion a year, depending on whether the valuation covers the standalone truck body or the entire specialized vehicle ecosystem. So you see how much they eat off of us, brother? Now we're talking about one brother. You there, Lance?
Yes, I'm here, brother. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. My sound is messing up a little bit.
My sound is kind of far away.
Yeah, mine is.
Okay.
But you're good. You're good.
My Bluetooth. Okay, hold on, brother Lance. Hold on. What the hell? Where the hell did my... Oh, there it is. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. All right. No battery. Okay. Hey, I want to switch to my other headset real quick. Sorry about the detour, brother.
Yeah, I can still hear you kind of vague.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, let me do this, Lance. Hold on.
Yeah.
Dang it. Let's see here. Okay. So
okay, brother fell off. Let me got a lot of glitches going on here. I don't know how my sound still sounds. Let me know. Let me know how I sound. If my sound is coming through. And if you could hear me. Okay. Brother Neil just fell off. So I know he'll be back. But that's a damn shame how we have so many people, melanated people, who have done so much and you never hear about them. Okay. He popped in and popped right out. Okay. Okay, thank you, thank you. I'm just waiting for brother to come back on. I'm so mesmerized by what he said. I'm like, wow, this guy was a brain. And back then didn't have the advantage of a computer or AI. Isn't that something? Which shows that we're greater than that. And it's just amazing when you think about it. And if we brought up something like that, or brought up this gentleman, then it would be a crime if we did this in school. Finally, the truth. We'll open the lines when Neil Frazier's done. We got to let him do his show. He takes all week to prepare everything and get everything, so I just let him flow. Got to wait till he comes back. But if we brought these things up in school, those small hat teachers, they would not like it. We have to stay with the curriculum. So we've been given a very narrow scope of what we've done. Let me see if I can reach out to him. Let me throw him a message here. All right, bear with me, everybody. Let's put on a little tune here while I step away.